Hello learners, welcome back to education program online with me teacher Christy, taking you in mathematics for senior 3 and senior 4. So dear learners, our next lesson which we are going to look at is still under methods of solving quadratic equations. Methods of solving quadratic equations. So we said, remember in our introduction, we said there are about four main methods of solving quadratic equations, and we have so far looked at two, and then we are now moving to the fourth one, and the fourth one is about general rule. General formula. Sometimes we say rule, sometimes we say methods, and so on. So this is what we are going to look at. But before we come to that point, there's what we call deriving the general formula, because general formula is applied to solve any quadratic equation. If you don't want to, if they have not instructed you that use solve by factorization or by perfect square or completing the squares, if the equation just comes to solve the equation and you have identified that it is a quadratic equation, you are free to use what we call a general method, because it covers all kinds of quadratic equations. So we want to see how do we deriving a quadratic equation. Deriving a quadratic equation. Deriving a general methods. Deriving general method or formula. So this is what I want us to first start with, then we can now see how to apply it. Deriving a general method. So when you are asked to derive the general method, we all know that they will look at this. Look at this question. They say solve a x square plus b x plus c equals to 0. Learners, this is where you derive your general method. So if you are given like this, or if you state this as a quadratic statement, now you are to derive this, then you are to apply the previous the previous method that we have that we have looked at, so that you can be able to arrive to the final answer. So in our solution for this, we simply say, since a first term contains a coefficient, and a coefficient, therefore what we do, we are going to divide all the terms by the coefficient of x square. Divide all terms by a coefficient of x square. This is your first step. Coefficient of x square. So if we are to divide, that means we are going to have a x square divided by a, then plus b x square divided by a, and then we have c divided by a, and then equals to 0 divided by a, so that this a will cancel, and then here will remain 0. So we shall have now x square plus b x out of a plus c out of a equals to 0. So at that level, that is where you are going to apply what? You are going to apply the completing squares. And we said if we are to apply the completing squares, that means we are going to have x square plus b x out of a, and then equals to c out of, this will be equals to c out of what? Out of a. C out of a. This c, since it is a positive here, we shall have it as a negative. And then now at that level, you are going to get a half of what? A half of our here. From this part, this is where you are going to get a half. So your a half of b will be a half of what? Of b out of a. B out of a will be 1 times b, we get b. And then 2 times a, we get 2a. So after getting a half, then we do what? We square it. Equals to, this is square it. So means we are going to square it. So when we square it, then after squaring it, we are going to add the squares to both sides. Add the squares to both sides, left and right. That means we are going to have x square plus b x out of what? Out of a plus b out of 2a. You square them. Square it. Equals to negative c out of a plus b out of 2a, square it. So now at that level, you have added the squares to both sides. Then now you make it form as a perfect square. So for us to form this, that means we are going to square this, and then we are going to square also 2a. Then we shall now have x square plus b x out of a, and then plus what? Plus b square out of 4a. Out of 4a. Out of 4a. And then now here we shall have equals to what? Equals to negative c out of a plus b square out of 4a. So now, dear learners, at that level, we are going, here is 4a square. Here is also 4a square, because we have to square all what is inside the bracket. So now from this level, we are going to what we call factorize. So we get the common factors for this. So the common factors, if I break here, it will be b and b. And then here it will be 2a and 2a. Then now, when we break this, we also get x and x. So we shall get x plus b out of 2a. Close the bracket, square it, equals to, now for this case, when we look at this, we have to get the simplify this part here, which will now give us what? LCM, because we have the what? We have the denominators here which are the same. So we shall have 4a here, which will give us here 4 comes to here, it will give us what? 4a, and then because this we take this as 1, and then we take also 4 as 1. So it will give us 4 comes to this will be 1, will be 4, and then 4 times C, we get 4AC, negative 4AC. And then here it will be 1, and then times that, it will give us plus B square. So now, dear learners, at that level, we find that we are now going to make what we call the perfect. Perfect, we apply now perfect root. That is rooting both sides. We shall now have x. We shall have x plus b over 2a square root it. We root this part and then equals to plus or minus a root of negative 4a negative 4a c, and then plus b square out of what? Out of 4a. So here this will automatically cancel, and then we shall have x plus b over 2a equals to plus or minus. So this one, since a negative is here, we can make arrangement, begin with a positive and then we end with a negative. So we shall have negative, we shall have b, here we shall have b square because it is a positive, and then minus 4ac out of what? Out of the root of this. The root of 4a will give us 2a. So here now we shall now find that x will be, when we make x a subject on the left hand side, we find that x will be negative b over 2a. Negative b over 2a. So when we solve it, we get x equals to negative b out of 2a, which equals to plus or minus a root of b squared minus 4ac, all out of 2a. So now when you look at this, you will now say either x equals to negative b plus a root of what? A root of b square minus 4ac out of all out of 2a. My dear learners, you may wonder, why have I left this 2? Because when we look at here the both sides, we find that the denominators are the same. We have 2a and then 2a, so we take only 2. So or you may say x equals to a positive b minus a root of b squared minus 4ac out of 2a. So for us to have what we call the general formula, we simply say, therefore, general formula will contain all the two terms at the same time. So our general formula will be x equals to negative b plus or minus a root of b square, a root of b square minus 4ac all out of 2a. So dear learners, that is how you derive our general formula. So you derive the general formula right from the expression of a quadratic statement or a quadratic equation. Then now from there you begin to apply all the three methods that we looked at. That is, factorization will be there, completing squares will be there, and then perfect square root will arrive you to what? To our general formula. So dear learners, in case they ask you derive it, that is how you simply derive your general formula. And then lastly, we now want to look at how do I apply this general formula in any quadratic equation. How do I use the general formula in solving the quadratic equations? So let us look at it. Example. Examples. They say solve the following equations. The following equations using a formula. Using a formula. And the questions are x square minus 7x plus 12 equals to 0. And then we have b. Since it is algebra, they can change anything. They say m plus 2 equals to 15m square. And then c is 4x square minus 9x plus 5 equals to 0. So dear learners, you can look at those examples. You find that some of them are not perfect expressions, and therefore if you are to use any other method, you may not arrive to the answer. For example, part A, if you are to use a perfect square, you may not arrive to your answer, all of them. So what do? You can simply use what we call the formula, the general formula, and to arrive you to the required answer. So let us see, look at the solution part. So our solution part, we say part A is given as x square minus 7x and then plus 12x equals to 0. So dear learners, before you even apply the general formula, state your general formula, the first thing you must be able to identify how many terms are here. There are 3. So what is the value of first term? What is the value of second term? And what is the value of third term? So our first term here, the coefficient is, we say this is A equals to 1. And then when we come to B, we find it is negative 7. And then when we come to C, we find it is positive 12. That is your first step. So after getting that, then you can now state your formula. So you now say formula your formula now will be general formula x equals to minus b plus or minus a root of b square minus 4ac, all out of what? Out of 2a. Please, the 2a is for the whole formula. Then now, after you have stated this, then you can be able now to substitute. Since you have known the values of these abbreviations or these letters from here, now it becomes very easy for you to substitute. So you say x equals to, don't ignore this negative. This negative is for the formula. So you treat what is a value of b, treat it as the way it is. So when we substitute here, we get negative, this negative of the formula, and then a negative of what? Of value of b, that is negative 7. And then you say plus or minus the root. So the root of what? The root of b squared. Our b is negative 7. So you put it 7 square. And then minus this minus, and then 4. We have 4a. 4a means 4 times the value of a. So my times 1. And then times the value of c, which is times 12. All out of what? Out of 2 times 1. So now from there you say I will have x equals to a negative gives us positive 7 plus or minus a root of what? A root of negative 7 times negative 7 gives us 49. And then here we have 4 times 1, we get 4. First close this whatever the sign, which is a negative. Deal first with this. And then we say 4 times 1, we get 4. 4 times 12, we get 48. And then now, that is when now you bring this. Negative times 48, we get negative 48. So here we get 48. All out of what? Out of 2. So when you are using general formula, it is a long process. General formula and completing squares is a long process. And remember that whenever you are solving quadratic equations, it is something which is so big, you cannot get a solution within one step. Then now, from here, when we simplify here, we get 1. So we shall have x equals to 7 plus or minus a root of what? A root of 1 out of what? Out of 2. My dear learners, at this level where you get the result does not have a perfect square root. You do what? You ignore the root, and then you simplify the roots by saying I will have either x equals to 7, and then this root, which is plus 1, all divided by 2, or I will have x equals to 7 and then minus 1 divided by 2, so that you now get here x equals to 8 out of 2, which is the same as 4. And then here we shall have x 7 minus 1, we get 6. So we get 6 out of 2, which is 3. And then now you come and say, therefore, x equals to 4 or x equals to 3. X equals to 3. So dear learners, that is how you simply deal with a general formula. it is a long process because it covers all. It includes all the all the form or all the methods. Actually, it includes all the methods of solving a quadratic equation. That's why we say general. So with this, I believe my learners, you have understood how to derive a general formula and how to apply a general formula in solving a quadratic equation. So with this example 1, I want you to go and try to solve exam part B and part C of your question using what? The general formula. With this, learners, we have come to the end of our lesson for today, and I wish you the best. Remind yourself how to derive the general formula and how to apply the general formula. With this, I wish you the best. Good